All right, UFC Gym team, welcome back to our Tuesday podcast with Mr. Neal Spruce, the godfather of nutrition within our industry, that industry being fitness. I have to lead off with that every time. Please be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages, UFC Gym Whitestown, as well as our YouTube channel, UFC Gym Indy, and also follow dotFIT for dotFIT champions on Facebook, as well as dotFIT for their Instagram profile, and then dotFIT.com. So thank you, Neal, for joining us.
Thanks for having me again, Jordan.
We have another person in the studio today, a little bit different. We're going to switch it up a little bit with Miss Claire Spless. Miss Claire is our youth program coordinator at UFC Gym Whitestown. She played goalkeeper at Youngstown State and then transferred to Saginaw Valley State, so former college athlete. She is very heavily involved in the nutrition programming as well as the fitness programming for our youth sports. So say hi, Claire.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Claire.
We want to just kind of start off with some basic recommendations that you would have for kids, active kids, and nutrition. Well, what kind of advice would you give to parents going forward with kids starting with sports?
Yeah, well, and as you know, I think, Jordan, I coached Pop Warner for 14 years. Both my kids not just went through that, but all of their friends that I coached through there, and mine actually made it to the NFL. So went all the way, and the other one turned out to be a fighter. So UFC guy. But the point was that first thing I would do, I was the head coach for all those years here in Westlake. And the first thing I'd do is sit the parents down on first day one, and I just tell them, hey, listen, look at some simple rules. Last thing you want is your kid out here when they're trying to perform to just fall off on the halfway through practice. That's going to happen because I know the way kids eat. I got 3 of them myself, okay, and I know how they eat. And just some real simple, plain rules. Tell them they just need things they have to have, what they eat, and then they can have whatever they want. What they have to have is they have to have protein in every meal, a little bit of carb in every meal, the good fat in every meal. Of course, you're getting their fruits and veggies from that, the carbs. And so that's just a little bit, and then from there on out, they can have whatever they want. And then hopefully that slows them down from the stuff they want, right? So that's just rule 1. Rule 2, before they come to practice, they all take a shake. And the shake is going to be, so it's got the protein in it, and it's got carbs in it. So it's got a little bit more carbs and protein, and it's nothing more than ground up food, parents. So don't get scared here. It's nothing more than ground up food put into a can so it gets into their body and brings their energy levels to the top when they hit practice, because you know what they're eating at lunchtime, right? That. And then every single day of their life, just like you did, Mom. I always look at the mom and point right at her. You took a prenatal multivitamin mineral every day of your life. When that kid was in the womb, they continue to take it for the rest of their life, and especially while they're playing football for me. I want them to recover. I want them to feel better when they get back on the field. I don't want them falling out or getting hurt. We can prevent injury by having an alert kid on the field the whole time. So these things. So right off the bat, they go, okay, we're in. You know what I mean? Because they felt almost irresponsible if they didn't do it. So that was it. I have to tell you, you never talk to the kids. You talk to the parents. Well, the kids are with them, right? Then the kids will always say, well, Coach Neal said this. He said this. We got to do this. So, and they always did. They had their shake before practice, and right after practice went home and had dinner. And that's and of course, every pro athlete and college athlete does that today. But I'm just telling you, that's important, especially when they're growing, because you want full development. They're just getting into puberty, or they're before puberty still. That development years are so important. You build almost all your bone before age 16. After that, you hardly build any. And after 30, all you do is lose it. So the more you build as a kid growing, getting your calcium, vitamin D, and your magnesium, all the things that are building your bone, the stronger it's going to be through there. And by the way, kids that don't drink milk anymore, they fracture 8 times more than kids that do. And that's just the calcium and vitamin D. It's not milk itself, right? So I'm just telling you, so those are the things we know. And that's my simple advice to the parents. They get that all in 2 minutes, and they can figure it out from there.
Yeah, and we were talking about that a couple weeks ago or so during one of our first podcasts as far as the protein and calcium supplementation. Are there specific things from dotFIT that you guys offer throughout your corporation as far as what you would recommend right off the bat for parents?
Yeah, you mean for their kids?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's just exactly what I said. So I don't like kids having to take a calcium supplement. Both my boys never had to. I've never had to. I still don't. My wife and my daughter, like 75% of other Americans, they just don't get calcium in their diet. And they need 1,200 milligrams a day. And, you can get it from other things. You don't have to drink milk to get it. You can get it from cottage cheese, and there's other sources of foods, that's got, fish and so forth. But kids don't even eat fish anymore. So you've got all kinds of little issues here that are not getting these important. And there's 32 total vitamins and minerals that we can't live without. But the point is, there's about 15 to 20 potential ones that are missing, and not missing completely, or we wouldn't be here, but that are very low in children's diets. And that, just make sure they have that daily, and get 1 gram per pound of protein of lean body mass daily, because during growth spurts, people always, I think I made this quip last time, people always go, how come your kids are so much taller than you? And I go, that's because I force fed them when their growth plates were open. Here's your milk, here's your bottle of milk. Oh, here's some protein powder in it too. When their growth plates are open. So maximize development while you can. But yeah, that's really it. Just that multivitamin, make sure they're getting the gram per pound. They can get that from their food, but if they're an athlete, you always want to throw some right before you come out to the field. And it's not just protein, you gotta have the carbs there. You gotta fill the energy system up, right, for kids. And that helps the whole development process. And then, of course, immediately after, so they recover faster, so they're ready for practice the next day like that, because they've recovered faster. That's what it's really about. That's all I tell them. Nothing more than that. That's all they need. Now, by the way, but hang on, Jordan and Claire, there is one more thing that we've added over the last 15 years, 10 years, and that's the omega-3 fatty acid. If your kid's not eating fish, now I eat fish, I don't eat one. But rest of my family does, because they're like all other Americans. They don't get 4 servings of fatty fish a week. I'm a leftover bodybuilder, so I still eat a ton of fish. So it's waste of my time to take an omega-3 fatty acid. And I don't train hard anymore because I'm too old. But like my fighters, they take 4 tabs a day of omega-3s, even if they do eat fish for the extra recovery. But that's an athlete, that's an adult athlete. Kids don't need more than 1 a day unless they're eating fish, and they don't even need it. But if they get just 1 simple one a day, and by the way, the prenatal multivitamin mineral, the OBGYNs are now giving omega-3s to the mom too. So it's not just a multivitamin mineral, because the brain development that takes place in the womb is second to none, and DHA is primarily involved in the whole spatial size of the brain.
Right, gotcha.
Are there certain supplements or recommendations for certain ages that you have in mind?
For certain what? No, I'm sorry.
Certain supplements or protein diets or for different ages, because a teen's going to be trained differently than a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Basically, they're pretty much all the same. Your carbohydrate intake for a growing child should be 50 to 60% of the total calories. Protein intake somewhere between 25 and 30, and the remainder is fat. You don't have to look for fat. It's in your protein sources. It's in the other things they eat, and they're always going to go to McDonald's, so you can't keep them away from there. They'll get plenty of their stuff there. So, it's like, I wouldn't look for fats. But if the best fats, obviously, are vegetable oils. Just polyunsaturated oils from fish. Fish is a great source of fat. Also, the polyunsaturated fats, the long chains in there. But that's pretty much it. It's a standard. A standard diet we do. I do a performance. I do. If you guys want, you go up on dotFIT website into the trainer side, Claire. I did a complete youth Kat. She's our corporate dietitian here, Kat Bearfield. Her son made it to the NBA. So we got one that made it to the NBA, and hers made it to the NBA. So we're a little psycho about raising kids and athletes, but it worked. But anyway, so we did a whole youth seminar. So you can download that. It's about 40 minutes. It's a master class for all our certified trainers, and you'll get everything. And it's a great download, Claire. It has all the things that a youth, the amount of carbohydrates per pound, if you want to get nuts about it. You don't need to, because that's not going to work with kids anyway. But it has all the real stuff that you want in there, and the examples of good proteins versus poor proteins, good carbs versus not good carbs, and then just like a pregame meal, things like that. So a lot of really good stuff in there for you. But it's always, it's a 2 to 1 carbohydrate to protein ratio is really what you're looking for. And leaner proteins are obviously better than the fatty proteins.
Right. Good to know.
Yeah.
And you can find more information regarding supplements and information about dotFIT on dotFIT.com, as well as with our UFC Gym brands, since we are, carrying dotFIT supplements within our facilities as well, since it is practitioner approved, NSF certified, third-party guaranteed, as well as none of those extra additives that you don't want for your athletes, especially young athletes, added into those protein powders and different supplements. So once again, we're talking with Neal Spruce, the godfather of nutrition within our industry, founder of dotFIT. We touched base, kind of very shortly on the idea of strength training and weight training for younger individuals, fitness groups. Any other type of information you could provide on that, Neal, as far as what your thoughts are with weight training for younger groups of individuals and so on, and what age they should start, ideas about that?
Yeah, my personal thoughts, and I know we did touch on it last time, but and the reason we did is because the American Pediatrics Association finally came out with a position statement. Oh, guess what? It's okay for kids to work out. In fact, it's good for them. Wow, it only took you 30 years after we figured that one out. Seriously. So I couldn't help it. I blasted that all over the world. I go, told you so. Okay, but it's like, but it wasn't, they knew it all along. It's just, and again, I guess in defense of all of these, these sort of nonprofit organizations, they don't, they have no incentive to be ahead of the curve. And it takes forever for their boards to get together and make policy. So they just left that one ride out there, but everybody's known that. I mean, kids start resistance training. We're not talking about getting under a 300-pound bench press, or squatting or deadlifting these giant weights. We're talking about moving in the planes of motion that they're going to move in with a little resistance. And all that does is it actually increases vertical growth. It actually, so, it's going to stunt their growth. It's just, but to your point, and Claire, I know, she'll obviously echo this, it needs the proper supervision. You can't just turn them into a gym and let them work out with weights. They need to be instructed properly so they don't hurt themselves like anything else, so that's what's nice about what you guys are just so far ahead of the game, having those youth programs out there, performance programs.
Yeah, Claire's doing a great job actively creating those programs within the facility. We'll have multiple different classes going for the summertime, and then obviously going to revamp once kids go back to school. Go ahead, Claire.
Definitely reiterating what you're saying. Kids definitely need to work on the foundation so they can, get better as they age. But just mastering those foundations, you got to start somewhere. I mean, people think they need to get faster and work on different, advanced skills, and really they just need to master the foundations in order to get better. Because once you master those, sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point, Claire. Because that's one thing. Because that's, especially to kids, that stuff's boring. I don't want to do my core. I don't want to do this.
Right.
Hey, if that foundation is strong, you're going to blow it off. That's
right.
The trouble. Athletes are so fast and powerful these days. If they don't have a strong underside, the whole core and everything else, they're just going to start popping stuff. It's like putting a 427 Hemi, 429 Hemi in a Volkswagen or something. It's going to blow the rear end off it.
Right.
Definitely, you definitely need to make kid workouts fun, because they have short attention spans, and make it a competition, make it fun, make it so they understand what the goal is at the end of the session and that they're learning for it as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent.
Neal, was there a specific exercise that you liked when you were a kid, or maybe that your kids enjoyed, as far as maybe a workout, maybe a recreational game, maybe just some fun in the yard, something like that?
I can't even remember when I was a kid. It's that long ago. I need more brain health. No, you know what we did, and here's one of the things, and Claire, this is sort of it's not a myth, but it's sort of a guess, in the sports performance community about youth and injuries and so forth, and why, teenagers are getting a little bit more injured in sports and all this is, when I grew up, the first thing you did as soon as you woke up, you ran out the door and tagged up at the sandlot. You went down, and basketball season, you're playing basketball on a court outside, it's all caged in with no nets, and then, and then in football season, you're playing tackle football at the schoolyard somewhere. I mean, this is just what you did. So you're out there always moving in those directions. When it got dark, guess what we did? We played kick the can, Then people's parents are out there yelling for them, come home,
Those definitely my parents, for sure. I never got into video games. I was always outside rollerblading, playing kickball with the kids. in the neighborhood, always being active. And I think that society, we're kind of missing that. But I think quarantine kind of brought that back. I mean, bikes are sold out everywhere. People are walking. It felt like I was back when I was a kid. It was nice to see that again.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that was it. It was just going out and playing something, and we kept moving. So we didn't have those injuries, but we weren't as powerful as the athletes today. Let's face it. More powerful you get, the bigger chance of blowing an ACL, some of these non-contact injuries that we have. It's just a lot of it has to do also with not, to your point, Claire, not preparing properly, because most of these non-contact injuries could be preventable from proper training, proprioceptor muscles. So when you're all the different parts of training today that we didn't know in the old days. But the argument kind of is that, well, in the old days, we didn't need it as much because we were doing it every day of our life as kids.
Right.
We weren't sitting in front of a video game and then guess what? Popping up and going to go to practice. We were practicing all day long.
Yeah, that's a good point too, is kind of adopting that active lifestyle. Like, the baseline is 60 minutes a day, right? And the NFL's famous for that Play 60 program that they have. But honestly, it should be every single day as much as possible, especially when the kids are out of school. Take advantage of that time. Like Claire was saying, go on a bike ride, get through that area. And then, if they're having trouble with energy and things like that, make sure they're getting the right nutrition. Obviously, they're going to eat what they want, but like you said, try to supplement in these different things to make sure they're maintaining energy levels throughout the day.
And the other problem we have, excuse me a minute, but is the fact that, there's, parents they're freaked out about letting their kids out by themselves. Going to the things I did as a kid, there's no way a parent would let that happen. You know what I mean? I just think you're out there all by yourself, you're with a bunch of other kids in a sand lot, or a dirt lot somewhere, and you got bad guys driving by, so it's just, it is different today, because the media has really exposed all that, and rightly so, don't get me wrong. Exposed that there are some dangers. So, the kid kind of gets locked up, gets addicted to video games, and everybody's screwed. That's kind of what's happened.
They do make a lot of exercise video games now. Like, doesn't Wii Fit have like bowling and tennis? Right. And so, even on a rainy day now, there's have an excuse to get any exercise. So, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, those virtual ones. Yeah.
You got a list of questions there. So
okay, good. Excellent.
I guess with the supplements, was there like an energy crash after taking a protein supplement or energy supplement after practice? Because you said kids can take one before practice or before a game. Is there going to be an energy crash afterwards, or is it like a subtle? The good news is we make it taken immediately after practice too. So there's no chance of that. Once the adrenaline kicks in during the game and everything else, and what we use maltodextrins because they're quick. It's like what you use in Gatorade. It's got to have gastric emptying quick, because what you want is, as we call, stomach empty, muscles full. And so in order to do that, you have your pregame meal 3.5 hours or so, 3 hours before the game or practice, and then you have your shake to top off your energy systems. That's high in carb and protein, and kind of medium amounts in protein. And that kind of fills everything up, but it clears the gut in 20 minutes. So it's pretty much out of the gut in 20 minutes. So there's no gastro distress. Go through practice, 2 hours, 2.5, whatever it is. And then immediately after another one. And that's more for recovery. It's not really to kind of save your energy, because I don't care. You spent it. You deserve to rest. You do whatever you want to do at that particular point. But we do want you to have it for recovery, because when amino acids and exercise converge at one time, good things happen. Because the enzymes to rebuild that tissue are sky high immediately after a workout from all the muscle breakdown that's happened. They're sky high. And if they don't get the amino acids, they don't do anything. They just go away and lower. So that when that potential of anabolic help there is gone during that window. Another window will open later in the day, but nothing like the one when they converge. That's why we make them all do that. And then after that, 30, 40 minutes after, you have your meal, your post-game meal, which is not unlike your pregame meal, except now you can have fruits and vegetables. We don't like fruits and vegetables in the pregame meal because it's fiber that plugs the stomach. And that's good for weight loss and good for diet, for everything else, but it's not good for a pregame meal, because it slows down the gastric emptying. So we usually use refined carbs. And that's the only time we use refined carbs for that. Medium, real lean protein. A chicken bowl is like ideal.
right? Pasta and chicken, that's all great. And a little bit of salad's fine if you want to add that to it. But other than that, we try to avoid as much fiber as possible, during a pregame meal.
Another question that came to my mind was children obesity. That's becoming more relevant in the children today. Will those shakes help with those weight losses, or are them trying to get more active and full throughout the day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what's in sports nutrition, just be like Gatorade's okay for a kid. That doesn't make any sense. It's only good for a kid if he's out there in the field over an hour. And then you do want it. We have Gatorade out there. We dilute it with water. So it's about 50-50 mix for the kids. And I've got 6 assistant coaches. We're a little psycho here. And I said, and I assign each one to 5 kids. So you look, because kids don't have the same thirst mechanisms adults do. They're not mature yet. So they will skip drinking. They don't feel their thirst yet. So I assign every 20 minutes. I got this coach watching those 5, this coach watching those 5 to make sure they're drinking. And Gatorade and water is fine. But then they put Gatorade in Coke machines at school along with Cokes. And for a kid that it doesn't, you don't drink it it's only electrolyte replacement during heat times and excessive sweat, right? That's what it's for, but it gets lumped into a sports performance product, and it's not okay, right? It's not okay for just drinking it as a drink. It's like drinking a Coke, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to an inactive kid that's not doing stuff. And the same thing, you wouldn't want first string for an inactive kid unless they weren't eating. If they weren't eating, then absolutely first string is what you want. Okay, but if you've got an overweight kid, you don't need to give them a protein supplement. I'll tell you that right now. You just go ahead. And however, if they're going to lose weight, then you would use a protein supplement, right? And you would flip it over to like the pure whey, because there's hardly any carbs in that. So if you had a very overweight, and we've had to deal with that coming into Pop Warner. I'll have a kid that's 50 pounds overweight at age like 9, So I would just say, hey, your pre-shake is going to be this, and your post-shake is going to be this. And that's when I flip it over. But I know they're active, and they're just going to get better. And by the end of the season, they've lost 20 pounds, and they're in phenomenal shape. So yeah, you're right. You don't need this. If you got an overweight, inactive kid, none of this stuff makes sense. But if they're going to lose weight, then it does.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. You all right?
Yeah.
Bless you. We need a cough button, producer Chris.
Yeah, my dog.
Sure. Yeah. And when you talk about recommendations as far as time frame to have a meal before a workout or a game competition, and then afterwards, are those pretty standard for each age group going forward? Is there any age group that requires maybe a little bit more time between meals or before practice or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. It's very personal. And it really is your GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, how it works. Some are like ridiculously efficient, and they can have a pregame meal 2 hours before practice. I mean, I'd throw up if I had a pregame meal 2 hours before. I had to go 3.5 always. That was my personal. I found my older son. I'm using examples where I live with these people, right? My other buddy, my roommate, actually played in the NFL. He could have a giant meal. He could have burger and fries literally 1 hour before the game. So everybody's a little unique in the way how fast they can move food and the GI distress. But the standard number, just so you know, that's why I have a pretty big window. I go 2.5 to 3.5 hours right in there. And you got to kind of figure that one out for yourself. It also depends on how much activity you're going to get. I mean, the thing about football that's different than basketball is that basketball never stops if you're a starter. You can't get off on defense and then can't get off on offense. Football, literally in a 2-hour game, you're probably on the field 15 minutes to 20 minutes total because you're playing one side of the ball, other than youth. See, that's what's different though here.
Right.
As you know, in youth football, your best athletes are playing both sides of the ball. So it's much more important for them to have that pregame meal than it is for college. I can't remember when Nelson got to see you. I mean, he's playing on one side of the ball. I mean, he also played special teams and, obviously the receiver. main guy, so he's on the field a lot. But 1/10 of what he was when he was in high school. He went both ways in high school, and of course Pop Warner, he played every position just so we made sure we win. But yeah, so it really is personal.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, any type of nutrition really is kind of personalized, right? When one thing for one person is not going to work for every other person. You can't just plug and play with formulas, especially with kids, especially with individuals when it comes to any type of nutrition. So, but good information though, as far as 2.5 to 3.5 hour window. I would have never thought, it'd be kind of similar to adults when it comes to training with kids. I think maybe some people are just a little overcautious about when to feed them or what to feed them before a workout and a game or anything like that. I don't remember what I used to do. I ran cross country in college, and I think it was just kind of eat food. And then like when I was younger, it was just eat food because I was running so much and just burning so many calories. So,
but runners are extremely efficient at metabolizing food. It just they get there, or you don't even become a runner. You know what I mean? It's funny how your genetics have set you up, and then if you happen to fall into that sport that your genetics were set up for, wow, you just do everything better than everybody else. And you're right. I look at runners and natural endurance athletes. I mean, these guys, they're amazing metabolisms.
When I was in college, I played a goalkeeper, so what I could eat is not the same as the field players. I mean, they're running 5-6 miles a game. I shuffled 25 feet, so it's all gracefully, Right. So I can eat like a foot-long sandwich. I probably had a salad or a little better protein-based diet than they did. So.
Gotcha.
Producer Chris is saying that he played water polo and could not eat beforehand.
Is that because of the hour rule with cramping?
Yeah. And that would be cramping, what they're probably referring to on that, more than anything else. Yeah.
Lots of movement in water polo.
And I never knew that until one of my buddies started playing. I used to make jokes about it. I never did after I found out what went on underneath the water there. I stopped making jokes. That is one brutal contact sport, let me tell you.
Yeah, every 4 years in that Olympics, I actually see it. And then I remember all these different sports where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine doing that. Cross country skiing is another one that comes into mind for sure.
Yeah.
Once again, we're joined by Neal Spruce for our bi-weekly Tuesday podcast. Be sure to check out dotFIT.com for all your supplement needs, and also reach out to us at UFC Gym Indy regarding the supplementation offered by dotFIT. Once again, I'm Jordan. This is Claire. That's Neal Spruce, the godfather of nutrition within our industry. We are happy to have him on. We are up against the time block right now. So, Neal, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time, as always.
Thanks for having me. And, you should tell all your people while you're closed, they sign up under your club, they get a significant discount on everything. That's the way you should always do it underneath your organization rather than going straight to us. It's better to go through you guys online, all the way around for their needs at this particular point. And so anyway, good luck in your opening. Maybe I'll see you one more time before you open, huh? Or we'll talk
absolutely. Yeah. And then hopefully we can get you out.
Oh, no, are you kidding me? I can't wait for that. I can't wait to get out, period. Okay.
Right.
But you guys are at the top of my list because I spent so much time with you.
Right. Well, we're more than happy to have you. Hope you guys are staying sane there. That goes for you and Rob. Check us out on our Instagram and Facebook pages, UFC Gym Whitestown, as well as our YouTube channel, UFC Gym Indy. Also check out dotFIT.com as well as the Facebook page, dotFIT Champions, and their Instagram profile. So thank you, Neal and Rob. We appreciate your time as always, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Claire. See you guys.